Mark, say it. Say it.
Say what?
Edgy, it is now time to start. Is that
Yes,
it?
yes.
Okay.
You know, when you first start meditating, somewhere along the line, you will encounter fantastic experience that will shake up your life. And that's the experience of emptiness. And identifying with the emptiness itself rather than the objects inside, including your body. You'll be sitting like this properly, well balanced. Your consciousness withdraws into your body. There's some residual hearing awareness going on. Then all of a sudden, bang, the whole universe has disappeared and there's only emptiness. And you are that emptiness. It's quite a shocking experience. It doesn't happen to brand new meditators. It takes an ability to really sit still and be focused on yourself, your experiences, before this happens. But when it does, it shakes up your whole world because you don't know what is real. The real world has disappeared. The real world of objects out there has disappeared. And you are sitting in a vast emptiness, stretching to infinity in all directions. And there you are, very quietly sitting. And suddenly, boom, your mind drops from focus inside the head to the gut. Just drops like an elevator. And when your attention is in your gut, you're sitting in meditation facing a wall or looking at a landscape, doesn't matter. The feeling is of vast, unending, unbounded space, and you are that, because you're no longer tied to the body. The body is merely another object in your field of consciousness. Now, the experience hit me very hard. Blew my mind, so to speak. To be able to sit and have suddenly the world as we know it disappear, replaced by one of infinite space, wherein to say I exist just seems meaningless. Because you are one with everything. You are at one with the vastness of space you perceive, along with the auditory sounds, the sounds you hear. The sounds go through you, grab you, and then disappear. The shock of this experience will last a long time because it's reinforced by constant experiences of that vastness in subsequent meditations. A vast space with no division, no compartments, and you are everything in that space. This is perhaps how a baby perceives the world, but it has no concepts to talk about it or ability. And gradually, objects would arise out of that emptiness and come to the forefront. But the meditator doesn't have to worry about that. What they have to be aware of is that vast space, that vast emptiness, which suddenly they are. This is the time for some people to laugh, but the laughing can destroy the experience, so the meditator usually remains silent, observing the vastness of himself or herself, and the vastness of emptiness. It's almost like being in winter on a cool day. Space extends in all directions. And it's like sitting on the seashore, listening to the sounds. There you sit, strong like a statue, made of stone. This kind of experience doesn't go away. I mean, you repeat it many, many times after you first attained it. But after a while, it just becomes one of the many experiences that meditators have as the depth of their meditation progresses. For me now, it's something to be pursued as a rest from everyday life. It's relaxation, escape to a different world a world much larger, without all the crap of our everyday lives filling it up. We're free now with this experience. We're free of being tied to the body or the mind. And you sit in stillness, feeling exalted, feeling one with the universe. And after you come out of it, you have to tell everybody, at least everybody that knows you and may be a meditator themselves. Not all meditators go through this experience. I remember when I was at Mount Baldy, I would ask some monks questions about meditation and my experiences, trying to find out what they meant. I remember one monk, very honest, he said, I haven't had any of those experiences. And I guess at that point, I wondered how universal is this experience in meditation? This vastness, this vast space, resting in it with total peace, with a big smile on your face, feeling your existence, and how wonderful it feels to be absent to your confinement, to your body. You're free. That's the sense that we have over all, is freedom. 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 Freedom from your body. Freedom from your mind. The looker, the watcher, sits alone at the center of the vastness of being experienced. And the world comes to him in terms of sounds. Somebody with a weed whacker next door. An airplane flying overhead. And you sit and you notice it, but it doesn't affect your mood or your sitting strength. It's just a happening. And then you come out of meditation. And you spend 5 minutes in Kinhin, which is the walking meditation that gets your body moving again. It takes about 5 minutes. Then you go back to sitting for another repetition. And then a second repetition. Total of 3 in your morning sessions. They usually last about 25 minutes each. Beyond that, the mind tends to intrude itself back. because you begin feeling sensations in your body due to your rigorous sitting. That require you to move. But you wait for the walking to be over, and you can hardly wait to get back into meditation again. A vast emptiness, an endless emptiness. No objects, just sensations. A sound of a pin dropping or of a rifle going off. Any kinds of sounds, people talking in the distance, an airplane flying nearby. Your body is in perfect peace, if you can even feel your body. You may not be aware of your body at all. But by the time the meditation period ends, awareness of the body in the normal way perceived returns. But evermore, you're aware there's another world that you're in when you're in meditation, a world of no boundaries, a world of infinite extent, a world of hollowness where a sound can reverberate for 1,000 years, it seems. And this emptiness, this vastness, becomes your new home. It's the backdrop of your sitting experience. Now, I've never encountered that experience when I'm not in meditation. Nor does it happen so much anymore. Part of it is I've grown used to being thoughtless through so many years of meditation that my brain doesn't interpret the emptiness of the room as the emptiness of the universe. The meditator is, if he were to think about it, aware of the reality of the situation he's in, she's in. It wouldn't be a vast emptiness. It would be as being one of very quiet body and the happiness of being able to rest while you're still awake, sitting in meditation. But you never forget that experience of the empty space that you are. It's always there as a reminder. Just think of it once, and in a second you're with it, that experience. The experience of a vast space, and you're it. And the sounds go through you. The smells go through you. The tactile sensations go through you. And you have absolutely no tension. And even in the future, when the experiences change again, you're not perturbed by any of them. Sink deeply into yourself. You'll find all kinds of interesting things. Like when you start moving your body after a sitting session. It's almost like coming alive again from the beyond. You become confined to flesh, born again, so to speak. You left the vastness of heaven and descended into a body again. Another thing that I noticed is when I was at Mount Baldy and I would talk to some of the monks about meditation, is that the experiences I had very few of them had the same. It left me wondering, why aren't they experiencing it also? And I guess I concluded that they really weren't in meditation yet. They hadn't learned how to be conscious, absent objects, and absence a world around you. When you're in meditation and you become one with the universe, or you become nothing, these experiences arise only with respect to meditation, the vastness of meditation. They're not part of your everyday experience if you don't meditate. But when you do feel them, they are liberating. They liberate you from attachment to your own body, to your own mind. And you embrace emptiness. You embrace stillness. You can find simpler states in everyday life. If your experiences are of a high degree of focus and concentration. And you'll feel that as a sense of power. Your body becomes rigid. It's not a bad rigidity. It's just that you sit very strongly and you feel like you're an 800-pound gorilla because your body is so still. But at the same time, your presence is overwhelming, your own presence. And you begin wondering about things. All kinds of wonderings about the nature of the universe around you. Most monks enjoy sitting outdoors by themselves sometimes. Not so much when a training is going on, because you're sitting all the time then, or lots of the time. But between the training months, and when you train like that by the ocean, you become the ocean. You become empty. All the things you've been worrying about are forgotten. And you see how attachment to things of the world prevent you from experience yourself as the vastness of space. Because you're hanging on to doing. You're hanging on to getting things done, errands. Meditation becomes another errand that you do until it passes way beyond that. the world of meditation is really quite different from the world of everyday life. It's simpler. It's filled with power, energies. You can feel the energies inside your body. You can feel it as a rising of the energy inside your spine. For me, I had a kink in my back, in the middle of my back, upper middle, the heart chakra. And the energy couldn't rise any higher than the heart chakra in me. It took many years of sitting and running into that barrier before one day it just disappeared. If somebody were to ask you who you are in that meditative state, the best answer would be vast emptiness without break, without hesitation, extending everywhere. And leaving me feel constant awe at the experience of my own self. That's it. You have many other related experiences sitting in meditation. But for me, that initial loss of form of the world, launching me into a vastness of unending space, was a wondrous happening. Okay. there any questions or statements?
Hi, Angie, I'll jump right in. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Sound good. I don't really have a question. Well, maybe I do, but I just want to say that I want to ask you a question, actually. I'll just counter what I just said.
Yes.
Um, have you met many others that have had your deep meditative experiences?
I don't know. We usually didn't talk about those things. It was frowned upon uh, in Zen centers. I I never discussed them with other people. My experiences there.
But you discussed them here, and you've been doing this for like 10 years or something. You've been
Yeah,
doing this or longer even.
yeah.
So among your students, have you had like a lot of others that have your type of experiences, your depth and type of experiences, or
I really
no?
don't know. Nobody talks to me about them.
Okay. Because I used to talk about mine all the time. And the reason why I'm asking you is because I've come to some realizations in the last year since I was last here. And one realization is that while the states, what you're talking about is indeed very mystical feeling and very profound and all the things you talk about, yes. However, science does account for the basics of these experiences. Like it's not something unknown to the world of evidence. So I'm not trying to cast any aspersions. It's amazing, it's incredible, it's otherworldly, it's mystical, it's all those things. But at the same time, like what you call the emotional tactile sense, for example, you're the only one that I've ever come across that has articulated that. And I experience that, and I indeed experience your type of experiences than I have from the very beginning. And I found out, I believe, the reasons why. Now, the reasons why may not be important, but it does add it adds clarity for myself because I've wondered about a lot of things to do with these teachings and about with life and reality and all these things. And it turns out that the internal tactile sense is a real thing, and it's not unknown to science. So I'm not trying to demystify or anything. I'm just saying it adds clarity for myself because like you, I'm an intensely curious person. I believe you're an intensely curious person, and the intense curiosity comes in large part from the way that I was born, the way that I'm wired. And the way that I'm wired includes an unusually high amount of intuition. And I've heard the word intuition spoken many times. I've never really bothered to actually investigate what intuition is. So now I know what intuition is. And it explains so much about my experience because uh, most people outside of this group have no idea of these type of experiences, and they think I grew up, they thought I was foolish, crazy, deluded, making stuff up, whatever. I wasn't. And I now understand that I have a nervous system that is very highly perceptive, unusually highly. So it's like I perceive stuff in very high resolution, let's say. And the layers that used to obstruct this most of the time are now pretty much gone, which we call identification with ego structures or whatever. Identification. So now that the noise is gone, what's left is what was always there under the surface, but what was blocked. And what's there is pretty amazing. And if it wasn't for you and your teachings, I would never have achieved this. And so I humbly give amazing amount of love and thankfulness for all that you do. Once again,
That's it.
that's it.
How has it changed your life?
I've always been a fairly anxious person, a person of low patience, a person that was moody, often towards the negative, or fighting the negative and escaping into the positive of pleasure and stimulation and all that. And I would say that compared to the way I used to be, the one thing I noticed is one thing you don't talk about a lot, but you imply it, is not only the inner power, like the Shakti or whatever you call it, the power, but the clarity is incredible for me. My acuity, my discernment, my precision is incredible. And it's all, the way it's supposed to be. Now, I have developed a lot of myself because I'm prone to do that, but just by nature. But I am, to make a long story short, I am much calmer. I am much more stable. I am peaceful. I go into states of profound euphoria regularly without any aids. So much more there, so much more, um, so much more knowing what to do and what not to do, and much better judgment. And it's like there's no more self-doubting, there's no more self-judging. All that's gone because one realizes that there is only one way to be, and that is to be immersed in beingness, or however you want to put it. And it's like it runs the show, not me.
Yeah.
So that's the best I can articulate.
How does this sound to some of the other people out there? What Mark just talked about, is it their experience also? I'm not forcing anybody to answer. Might reflect on that, but that's true. Your experiences enrich and simplify your life at the same time. But I've noticed no matter how concentrated I can get, I'm not any good at throwing darts.
Okay, Edgy, I can add one more thing. I love collecting, among other things, really good quotes. And the quote from Socrates, whom you may have heard of, and I think he died like about 400 BCE. So it's like 2,500 years ago or so. He said, and to slightly paraphrase, um, I neither know nor do I think I know. Very profound statement pointing to um, know, know nothing mind or beginner's mind. Very profound statement. Easy to misread what he's saying. But when I came across it, I was amazed at how I didn't know that he had said that because it's so aligned with these teachings.
Do you know we know so little of the direct experiences of the great masters of the past and even the present. They tend not to talk about them. They talk in philosophical terms about life and death, and not so much about the phenomenal aspects of meditation and of being. They talk about the stories in them and how these experiences change the nature of the stories that one perceives, which they're talking about mainly how the brain changes the way it sees the world based on these experiences. What do you make of that? We have a new kitten, and I hear her calling. She's ghost white, just like her big brother, who was not related to her, but our other cat, Shakti. And they're so relaxing to watch. A kitten playing, then stopping and almost just dropping over and going to sleep without meditation. They become masters of positional awareness. They are cute. Mark, do you have a cat?
No, but did you just say that they're masters of positional awareness?
Yeah.
I find that very interesting statement because obviously their biology is very much into positional awareness, and it must be an evolutionary advantage that they're so territorial and all that. It's an interesting statement. I like it.
And it
No, I don't.
sounded good.
Sorry?
It sounded good too.
Yeah, and also my like it's
Sounded deep.
yeah, for me it resonates with my intuition, positional awareness and cats. There's more to it than just the words. It evokes a kind of film loop in my imagination or something. It evokes a kind of tangible visual metaphor of sorts automatically. But no, I don't have a cat, but I think they're very cute and I like them. As I like dogs also. I'm just too I'm too lazy a person to take care of one. And I live by myself, so I'm the type of character that is more defined by what I omit than what I include. Very simple character. A simple character that is very aligned with depth, nuance, and emotional resonance. So you would agree with what I said, Edgy, that the emptiness is what runs the show.
The what?
The emptiness is running the show.
Yeah, I
In
wouldn't
a
put it that way. To me, there's no show anymore.
yeah.
It's the happening. It's, it's not like a show sort of implies planning, practicing, backgrounds, scenery, putting together a fictional world for an hour or 2 hours of entertainment. I don't find the world especially entertaining, but it does persist.
Maybe I could have put it like the emptiness is the heart, represents the heart. Because by immersing myself in emptiness regularly and constantly, or automatically even, everything else is pretty much taken care of.
Yes, it does. It changes your life. The meditator's life changes forever. But
Yes.
there are people that start meditation and they do it for a couple of years, but they stop because they're not getting much out of it because they don't know how to practice meditation. The best way to practice the meditation is to do it with a group. And you do it with a group of pretty good meditators. I started my spiritual practice with, who was that guy in New York? He's not,
Adams.
huh?
No, you didn't start with Adams?
No.
Okay.
Um,
Philip Koppler.
he
Philip
wrote some,
Koppler.
what?
Philip
Kaplan,
Koppler.
Philip
Kaplan.
Kaplow.
Kaplan.
Yeah.
And sitting period was filled with people that were going, and others were making remarks almost as if they were carrying a 300-pound load on their back up a road. And I was wondering, what the fuck are they doing? What is that meditation about? And that's a long time ago, that experience. That was in the 60s, I think, late 60s, 70s. But and then I came to California and I began meeting true masters. And there was none of that huffing and puffing in any of the centers anymore by people meditating. They're absolutely quiet and not practicing some sort of pranayama when they We're supposed to be practicing meditation. Because then I practiced meditation, and what was happening is imaginatively the sensual impression I got is that I was settling ever deeper into myself. I was going down, 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 away from my mind, and then even into the ground. And my connection with me and my ground formed a kind of unit that pulled and stretched me downwards. And I became glued to the earth, and I guess in lots of ways I had been unglued to the earth before that. But it brought me kind of practicality, a kind of ability to apply myself consistently in something hard to do, like with the mind, or with aiming a gun, for example. That requires concentration and control over the muscles of the arms, hands, fingers. And you can see the difference between an ordinary person shooting and a gun expert. The gun expert is like a robot. There's no wasted movements. Just one movement and a shot, and target is hit. While a newbie has the gun moving all over outside. They don't know how to control it. And it takes a long time to get to the time when they place the trigger, they pull the trigger, because they fooled around trying to get their hands steady. And it goes on for a long time. And then I think they realize they're not going to get any steadier than they are now. So they pull the trigger sort of like, oh, what the fuck? I got to get this over with. Meditator never lets go. There's always that part that's reached in the depths that's with you the rest of your life, and yet you have free access to, like nobody else does. Your guts are out in the open for you to see fully. Now other people can't see that. They can't see what you're seeing. They don't see in themselves what I find in myself. And myself, I find now, on a day-to-day basis, there's nothing there that I can grasp. There's a voice, and there's ideas that come to me, whims, and little things like that, but I do the one thing I have to agree with Robert is there's a sense of freedom. 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 And I can also understand why Robert repeated that word freedom on his deathbed moments before he died, over and over again. He said freedom. Freedom. And this is a radical freedom far beyond any kind of concept in the everyday world. This is freedom from the body and from society and from the human race and from your own self. Your own self is free. And even you're free from that even as a concept. just to be able to sit and do nothing by itself is novel for most of the people in the United States. We're trained to keep going and achieving and accomplishing, getting things done. We're bound by the 8 to 5 clock with work or as a student, society. But when you find out that the most important thing is you and the perception of you from inside of you, the vastness of your own beingness, because your beingness isn't confined just to your body. When you're in deep meditation, you are the whole universe. And when you leave meditation, it's like being reborn into the flesh. And this happens every day. Every time consciousness changes, you're reborn into a different aspect of existence, human existence or any other kinds of existence that you may experience. But that emptiness, that glorious emptiness, the vastness of infinite space, atmosphere everywhere. The experiences of absolute freedom also. Freedom from the flesh, freedom from your body. You expand into a higher dimension of that area you're used to perceiving being in. Most people, their consciousness is sort of confined to the top 100 feet above the soil. But a meditator, the mind travels through space to other planets. When you sit in meditation, the distances are absolute. But when something happens at the edge of existence, it's instantaneous that you react to it. So the world is organizes differently for a meditator and for a non-meditator. And it depends too on how deep your meditation is. And also just the number of years you've been doing it. It changes over the years, the meditative state. And generally, like in the everyday world, your mind or part of you is always in meditation at some deep level. Do you feel that, Mark?
Yep, especially the last couple of years, last year. Absolutely. It becomes the default state.
Are there any other questions or statements? Vesselina is not here today. At least she's not on a picture.
Could you suggest how to deal with people in everyday life? Because when I'm alone, I need about an hour, maybe half an hour, and I can feel this pleasant silence. But
You feel what?
I can feel this emptiness or pleasant silence, I would call it. But when I on my work, for example, it is hard to feel it. Could you suggest something how to deal with people in everyday life?
People?
Yes.
That's a different question. One is how do I find emptiness, you might say. And the other is how do I have emptiness and deal with people too? Now,
Yes, I mean how to stay in that pleasant silence or emptiness and simultaneously to deal with people. Is it
yeah.
possible or not?
Oh, it's certainly possible, but I think you really first have to master the sitting meditation and be used to the silence, be used to the vastness of space, and just do that over and over and over so it becomes second nature to you. And then you'll notice that your dealings with people change over time as you progress in this meditation. You can't do two things at once. Worry about how you deal with people in everyday life and practice meditation. You have to compartmentalize the meditation period separate and not mix them up.
Understood.
When you're with a person, you forget about the meditative mind and you just become good old Joe Blow to them, a friend, a lover, a parent, a child. So these are different roles. It's like if you're an Olympic swimmer, how do you have your life, or how do you have your life with people be as effortless as your life swimming in the water? It's practice. It's practice. One master, one thing after another, and do the meditation first because the human world is much more difficult to deal with without meditation. It's almost impossible. But it's hard to learn how to meditate when your mind is so focused on the chaos of your external world. First, you have to find peace in yourself and be able to go deep in yourself to get away from all the noise, all the traffic, all the yak, 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 and all the egos and all the striving for money and for space and cars, etc. All that has to be put behind you. All that has to be put behind you. And you just focus on yourself. Focus on yourself. Focus on yourself. Fuck the rest of the world. Just become aware of yourself in all situations, especially when you're meditating. You're sitting meditating. You feel your body in the emptiness. And you play too with bringing your attention downwards from your eyes down into your gut. Now that will happen to you automatically when you get good meditation going. Your mind will drop into your gut. But it takes a while to learn how to do that. At first it's quite startling to have your mind drop away. You know, what the fuck happened? It's such an unusual experience. It's like getting hopelessly drunk in 3 seconds because you're in a different world, the world of emptiness. And you can be in meditation and have your eyes open and even to a certain extent talk, but not really, because then you're not in meditation anymore. But it's just continued practice, getting used to the silent state within you and the feeling of power that comes with good sitting, strong sitting, and a sense of mastery, that you've mastered yourself. You know how your arms operate, you know how your legs operate. You feel them all the time, you're meditating all the time. You feel your body, you feel the way your head is, you feel the way your feet are, you feel the way your hips hurt when you cross your legs in meditation. So master meditation first and worry about people second.
So better not to mix this meditation with everyday life.
Right.
Like to be yourself in everyday life and behave as usual.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. The meditation becomes your church for years before they come together, where your life is wrapped around that inner peace, calmness, and strength. Where do you live?
Russia,
Where?
Ural, South Ural, Magnitogorsk.
Down by Czechoslovakia? Or
No, Russia.
yeah, man, I'm talking about where in Russia?
Yes, on this maybe where Czechoslovakia on this how to say line on those.
Welcome. You're welcome here.
Thank you.
Really, a lot of people come to meditation because their life is filled with chaos and confusion. And the experience of meditation gets better and better the longer you do it. Some people can hardly wait to get into a meditation session because of the peace they feel and they don't feel in everyday life. So you have to have an integrated life, which means you always should be aware of yourself in a very deep way. And the only way you can do that is by practicing stillness or practicing meditation. You can practice archery, for example, and you get some of the same results. The concentration is the same. The subject matter, though, is different. But some of these talents are transferable from one dimension to another, from everyday life into meditation and vice versa. Do you have any other questions, comments, complaints?
I just want to say, Edgy, that at this point, I've been following a lot of other teachers, and you are a master at explaining the unexplainable, as if it was a physical terrain that you're viewing as you're speaking. Like it's very tangible and believable. And perhaps the most important thing a spiritual teacher can do, I think it is the most important thing, is to motivate the members to continue through thick and through thin, through the long term. And, as you know, a lot of people like to take it up for a year or two or whatever, drop out, or maybe drop out. But the fruits for most are down the road. They may intermittently experience what's down the road intermittently, but the continuousness of it is down the road over many, for most people over many years before it becomes the default state. Anyway, it took me a long time, and I was pretty precocious at this to begin with, if I must say so myself.
Yeah.
So, I'm 8.5 years of daily doing this. When I first started, I was working. And also to answer your question about how to integrate work and the emptiness. Well, when I was at work, I would meditate during my lunch breaks or whenever I could, as well as the regular ones, the regular 2.5 hours a day. And over time, it took care of itself. Of course, retiring was an immense benefit, but even without that, I'm sure I would have progressed. Maybe not this far, but I would have progressed. So yeah. I also want to say that one thing that you don't talk about, but which is implied, is you've talked about the washing away of sins, of the emptiness, the everything wrong that you've ever done is rinsed away. So the meditation, one thing that it does, amongst many other things, is the emotional regulation. So if you're stressed out, if your life is stressful, if you encounter difficulties in your daily routine, if there's scary things in your environment, whatever, it helps so much with emotional regulation. It just like absorbs all the crap and leaves you with yourself, with leaves you with what's good. Just want to say that.
Are you teaching it?
Okay, we've had this discussion before, and I did teach for like a year and a half. I don't know if you remember, but there was you asked me, Maxie, I think Mike or somebody else to teach during the lockdown, during COVID, when you said there was like a lot of conflict in the world and in life and in the country, whatever, and that we needed to do it every day. And so I did teach for a year and a half. And then after that, was it a year and a half or was it longer? Maybe it was 3 years. I don't remember exactly how long. At some point, Chris and Bernadette took over. So I did do my part in a time when I think that if I had not, so after a number of us were teaching, there was a point at which only I was teaching for some reason. Am I right? I forget. But what I do remember is I filled a vacancy that I don't think anybody else was ready or capable of fulfilling because I was retired. So I think at a crucial point, I was a significant teacher, facilitator during the week on, in addition to your Sundays, which you were doing most of the time. But to make a long story short, in my opinion, I'm a lousy teacher. I'm a profound realizer. And you've told me originally that if I just kept at it, I would eventually get really good at it. Well, I did improve to a degree, but still, I am hampered in my ability to communicate what I experience. There's good reasons for it. It's not anything that I can improve upon indefinitely with practice. But I do appreciate your asking the question. It shows that it tells me a lot that you asked me the question. You also said, and I don't mean to belabor, but you also said earlier that the emptiness that you feel is not something others can see, right? When you're feeling it, others don't really know they don't see what you're feeling. Well, certain people, once they get to know you or when they're in your presence, can sense it.
Yeah.
So there's that. But most people, yes, most people wouldn't have a clue. They'd be absorbed in their own cocoon of
I'll say one thing is I've noticed certain spiritual teachers, the ones that emphasize meditation, sometimes the atmosphere around them changes. You can come into their presence and immediately you're disarmed by their quietness and their non-threat appearance to you. They just seem so open, accepting, and non-threatening. And that has immediate impact on the people around them. That's one of the positive benefits and ways you can find a meditator from a non-meditator teacher. Because there are spiritual traditions that have nothing to do with meditation. Anyway, I love you all. Come again next week. We'll get some more. Bring a shovel. Shovel some more. Take care. Bye-bye.